It's 8 p.m. on a Friday, and you collapse onto the couch, ready for some Netflix. But instead of instantly relaxing, you find yourself scrolling and scrolling through hundreds of show options. Comedy, drama, that new docuseries everyone tweeted about. The choices feel endless. 30 minutes later, you're more stressed than when you started, still unable to pick the perfect thing to watch. Sound familiar? Welcome to the paradox of choice, the modern-day agony of too many options. In this video, we're diving into why having more choices can actually make you less happy. We'll explore surprising psychological studies. Yes, even jam and chocolate have something to teach us. Take an existential detour with Kierkegaard and Sartre to see why total freedom freaks us out, and poke fun at our daily decision crises, from dating apps to cereal aisles. By the end, you'll learn how to escape the choice overload trap with a bit of stoic wisdom, a dash of commitment, and some mindful magic. Get ready for a wild, funny, and eye-opening ride through the paradox of choice. Choice overload. When more is less. Imagine walking into a gourmet grocery store and seeing a display of 24 different jams. Now imagine a table with just 6 jams. Which scenario makes you happier? Intuition says the big selection, more choice, more chance you find something you adore, right? Wrong. In a famous study, psychologists Sheena Iyengar and Mark Lepper found that offering 24 flavors of jam attracted lots of browsers, but only 3% actually bought a jar. With just 6 jam options, sales skyrocketed. 30% of shoppers bought a jar. Not only that, the people with limited options reported greater satisfaction with their choice than those overwhelmed by the 24 flavors. In other words, too many options left people paralyzed and less happy with the few decisions they did make. And it's not just jam. In a follow-up chocolate experiment, participants were either offered 6 chocolates or 30 chocolates to choose from. Those faced with 30 kinds of chocolate ended up enjoying their chosen chocolate less. Many even opted for cash over getting another chocolate as a reward. That's how uncertain and second-guessy they felt after navigating a huge selection. Ironically, more choice can spoil the pleasure of even something sweet and delicious. Barry Schwartz, the psychologist who literally wrote the book The Paradox of Choice, shares a personal example. He went to buy a simple pair of jeans and was bombarded by options: slim fit or relaxed, stonewashed or acid washed, button fly or zipper, you name it. After an exhausting try-on session, he did find a great fitting pair. Yet, he felt less satisfied than in the old days of one-style-fits-all jeans. Why? Because with so many options, his expectations skyrocketed. Surely, among dozens of pairs, there had to be a perfect one. Anything merely good feels like a letdown when you suspect there's something even better. More choices raise our standards and set us up for disappointment. Psychologists call this choice overload, when an abundance of options starts to freeze you up and make you miserable. Here are some signs. Tell me if you recognize any of these in yourself. Paralysis by analysis. With too many possibilities, you stall and procrastinate instead of deciding. Ever scroll Amazon for hours, then buy nothing? Perfectionism and regret. No matter what you choose, you suspect another option might have been better. It's easy to imagine a better choice, leading to instant regret or that nagging feeling of FOMO, fear of missing out. Escalating expectations. You expect the best because statistically, one of those many options should have been perfect. When reality inevitably falls short, you're disappointed. Self-blame. If your choice isn't perfect, you have only yourself to blame. After all, you had tons of options. This self-blame can even spiral into anxiety or depression in extreme cases. Yikes. Thanks a lot, endless choices. In short, having too many options often makes us not freer, but more paralyzed, not happier, but more dissatisfied. It's a cruel paradox. Choice, which we equate with freedom and happiness, can instead become a torture device. As one meta-analysis put it, sometimes less is more when it comes to making choices that actually satisfy us. But why is our modern brain so bad at handling lots of choices? Part of the issue is cognitive overload. Our poor brains can only compare so many things before they hit a blue screen of death. Remember, even your phone starts lagging with too many open apps. There's also opportunity cost. Each option we don't choose is a missed opportunity that we might be mourning. The more options, the more missed opportunities to imagine. And don't forget decision fatigue. Choices are mentally tiring. After making 17 trivial decisions before noon, choosing what to have for dinner might just push you over the edge. To illustrate, one study on retirement plans found that for every 10 extra investment funds offered, the percentage of people who chose nothing went up by nearly 3%. Give people 50 funds to choose from, and many throw up their hands and postpone the decision indefinitely. Too many options can literally lead us to choosing not to choose, which, spoiler, is still a choice. More on that later. At this point, you might be thinking, okay, I get it. Too many choices can be a problem, but isn't having options better than being told what to do? Generally, yes. Freedom is fantastic. But as we'll see next, philosophers have been warning for centuries that freedom can be a double-edged sword. The anxiety of choice isn't just a quirk of grocery store experiments. It cuts to the core of the human condition. Condemned to be free, the existential anguish of choice. Let's leave the shopping aisle for a moment and zoom out to the big picture. Long before psychologists were testing jam flavors, existentialist philosophers were grappling with the dizzying nature of choice in life itself. Remember Kierkegaard's quote at the start about the dizziness of freedom? He wasn't talking about jam or Netflix, but the existential anxiety that comes from realizing you can do anything with your life. Kierkegaard explained that anxiety, angst, is born from our boundless freedom to choose. If fear is about external dangers, anxiety is more internal. It's the unsettling feeling of, what might I do? He gives a famous example. Imagine standing on a cliff's edge. You feel fear that you might fall, but you also feel a strange anxiety knowing you could choose to throw yourself off. That vertigo in your stomach is the dizziness of freedom. You're dizzy with possibility, the terrifying realization that nothing is truly holding you back from making any choice, good or bad. In Kierkegaard's words, to be anxious is to be bewildered by one's own freedom, knowing that in every moment you have many options and must choose. Even not choosing is itself a choice, an option you're actively selecting by doing nothing. A century later, Jean-Paul Sartre took this idea further. He famously said, "Man is condemned to be free," which sounds rather grim. Condemned to be free? Sartre's point is that with total freedom comes total responsibility. There's no predetermined path or divine script for your life. You have to choose everything for yourself, and that heavy responsibility for shaping your life can fill you with anguish. Sartre noticed we often try to escape from this freedom. He calls it living in bad faith, because it's scary to accept how free and responsible we truly are. It's like we've been thrown into a vast ocean of possibilities without a life raft. Absolute freedom, ironically, can feel like being adrift at sea. Exciting, but also terrifying and overwhelming. Sound familiar to the jam experiment? The stakes are obviously different. Choosing a career or a worldview is a tad heavier than choosing a jam, but the psychological pattern is similar. Too much freedom can create anxiety and indecision. Modern life, especially in free societies, gives us an unprecedented level of personal freedom. You're told you can be anything you want: an artist, an entrepreneur, a scientist, a world traveler, whatever. Which is wonderful. Until it's 3 a.m. and you're lying awake wondering if you picked the wrong college major, or living in the wrong city, or swiping on the wrong dating app, or generally failing at life because you haven't achieved all the infinite possibilities available. With freedom comes the burden of making the right choices, and that burden can manifest as chronic anxiety. Swipe, shop, and scroll. Modern life on the wheel of choice. Nowhere is this paradox more obvious than in our day-to-day modern lifestyle. We live in a world of limitless options at our fingertips, and it's driving us a little crazy. Let's look at a few relatable scenarios. Tell me if any of these sound like you. I won't judge. Dating apps galore. You have literally thousands of potential partners in your pocket on apps like Tinder, Bumble, etc. On one hand, great. On the other hand, it can feel like an endless buffet. No matter how awesome a person is, your brain whispers, there could be someone better just one more swipe away. This mentality can lead to commitment phobia. One recent study found that people who felt overwhelmed by too many dating options had more difficulty choosing a partner and were more likely to stay single because they couldn't settle on anyone. Paradoxically, all those available singles can leave you ironically alone, stuck in decision paralysis. And if you are in a relationship, social media means you're aware of other options. Research suggests that people who think they have plentiful alternatives tend to feel less satisfied with their current partner. Ouch, that's the romantic equivalent of the jam study. Netflix and ill from indecision. We opened with the Netflix nightmare, but it's worth emphasizing. Netflix paralysis is so common, it's basically a meme now. You spend an hour browsing, get overwhelmed by the 5,000 movies and shows, then end up rewatching The Office for the 10th time because at least it's a sure thing. Streaming services autoplay trailers and algorithmically shove options at us. But they can't make the choice for us. How many times have you given up on a movie night out of sheer option overload? Bonus points if you've ever felt relieved when a show was chosen for you, like when watching live TV or letting a friend pick, because it freed you from deciding. The online shopping rabbit hole. You need a new pair of sneakers. You hop on Amazon or another site and search sneakers. 2,000 results. You apply some filters. Still 387 options. You start meticulously reading reviews, comparing prices, styles, brands. An hour later, your brain is mush and you haven't clicked buy on anything. Or worse, you did buy something and now you're immediately second-guessing it because you saw another pair with a higher rating. Online retailers thrive on offering endless variety, but as a customer, you might feel like a burden of choice has been placed squarely on you. You must sift through the infinite aisle and hope you don't screw up. It's exhausting. No wonder shop till you drop sometimes means dropping from decision fatigue. Lifestyle FOMO. Scroll through Instagram and you'll see friends and influencers making all sorts of life choices. Traveling the world, starting companies, having cute babies, moving to a cabin in the woods to write a novel, you name it. It's easy to feel a creeping FOMO about paths not taken. If you choose one kind of life, you might feel you're missing out on another. Should you be a digital nomad or climb the corporate ladder? Live in the bustling city with endless events? Or the peaceful countryside with homegrown veggies? Whatever you're doing, social media assures you that someone else is doing something else, and suddenly, you wonder if you chose wrong. We are plagued by the sense that some other version of us, in some parallel universe perhaps, is living a better life because they made different choices. It's an existential black mirror of our own making. We become haunted by the ghosts of paths not taken. All of this modern angst ties back to what those psychologists and philosophers have been telling us. Too many choices, whether it's potential soulmates, entertainment, or lifestyle options, can lead to decision paralysis, anxiety, and dissatisfaction. We're like the donkey in Aesop's fable who, faced with two equally appealing haystacks, starved because it couldn't decide which one to eat. Only now the donkey has hundreds of haystacks, all with different flavors and Instagram filters. No wonder we're anxious. By this point, you might be laughing nervously and thinking, "Yep, that's me. So what do I do about it?" Don't worry, we're not going to leave you despairing in a sea of choices. It's time to talk solutions. How do we regain sanity and happiness in an age of overwhelming options? The answer isn't to throw away all choices and go live in a cave, tempting as that might sound on some days. Instead, it's about learning how to choose smarter and live with our choices in a healthier way. Let's explore a few strategies that can help turn down the volume on choice overload and bring some peace of mind. Finding freedom in fewer choices. How to choose and live better. The good news is that psychologists, philosophers, and even you, intuitively, have ideas on how to cope with the choice glut. Here are some practical strategies to ease that burden of too many options and embrace clarity over perfection. Stoic satisficing. Embrace good enough. In a world obsessed with getting the best of everything, one of the most radical things you can do for your sanity is declare something good enough and be okay with it. A term for this is satisficing, a combo of satisfy and suffice, meaning you choose an option that meets your needs, satisfies you, even if it's not absolutely the best at everything. This idea goes way back. The Stoic philosophers of ancient Greece and Rome taught that peace comes from wanting what you already have and not fixating on what you lack. Instead of agonizing over making the objectively optimal choice, give yourself permission to choose a pretty good option and close the case. For example, pick a movie to watch in 5 minutes, not 50, and decide that, yep, this is tonight's entertainment. Then focus on enjoying it rather than wondering what you're missing. Barry Schwartz himself suggests we'd be happier if we lowered our expectations a bit and stopped chasing the mythical perfect choice. Next time you're shopping, try this. Set a few criteria that matter to you. Pick the first option that ticks those boxes and don't look back. It might feel weird at first. Am I settling? But you're really just freeing yourself from analysis paralysis. Remember, perfection is an illusion, and endlessly chasing it is a recipe for misery. There's wisdom and relief in saying, "This is good enough for me." The Kierkegaard commit. Freedom within limits. Soren Kierkegaard, our dizziness of freedom guy, had a solution to existential paralysis: commitment. He observed that people who refuse to commit to anything, whether it's a career, a relationship, or a set of values, often live in a state of despair, constantly flitting between possibilities and never investing in one long enough to find meaning. The antidote is to choose and commit to something wholeheartedly. By embracing some constraints in your life, you actually liberate yourself from the tyranny of constantly having to choose. It's like narrowing the menu of your life so you can finally enjoy the meal. This doesn't mean you can never change your mind, but it does mean giving your chosen path a real chance. Commit to that hobby you've been considering and stop keeping 10 backups in case it's not immediately fulfilling. Decide to stick with your job for the next year and ignore the endless LinkedIn job listings tempting you every week. Or on a smaller scale, impose a fun constraint like meatless Mondays or a capsule wardrobe. By limiting some choices, you free up energy to enjoy and excel at what you've chosen. It's like telling the infinite possibilities, "Thanks, but I've made my choice." Suddenly, the anxiety of "what should I do" quiets down, and you can focus on "how do I make the most of this?" Kierkegaard might say that in choosing to commit, you become yourself. You give shape and meaning to your life rather than remaining a blurred outline of unrealized options. Mindfulness. Be present and let go of what if. Even after you've satisficed and committed, those sneaky thoughts about the roads not taken can creep in. This is where mindfulness comes in handy. Mindfulness is essentially the practice of bringing your attention to the present moment without judgment. How does that help with choice overload? By training yourself to notice anxious thoughts about other options, but not get carried away by them. Let's say you've picked a restaurant for dinner, and as you sit down you think, maybe I should have gone to that new sushi place instead. A mindful approach is to acknowledge that thought. There's my brain craving the unchosen option again, and gently return your focus to enjoying the meal in front of you. Mindfulness teaches us to stop second-guessing every decision and to experience what is happening here and now. It also helps with the initial decision process. If you're calm and tuned into your values and actual needs, you're less likely to be swayed by sheer FOMO or endless comparisons. Before scrolling through 50 reviews, take a deep breath and ask, what do I really need? Will more info actually help? Or am I just avoiding deciding? Often, your gut, a calm gut, not an anxious gut, already knows what you want, and being present can help you hear it. A bonus tip: gratitude. Actively appreciating the choice you made, finding what's good about it, can drown out the noise of what you didn't choose. Missed the sushi place? Oh well, this pasta is delicious and the company is great. By staying present and grateful, you rob those unchosen options of their power to taunt you. Finally, remember that no choice is ever perfect, and that's okay. Life is not a multiple choice test with one right answer. It's more like an adventure book where you get to write the story as you go. Yes, that's a lot of responsibility, but it's also a lot of possibility. The trick is not to let infinite possibilities paralyze you. Conclusion: clarity over perfection. In our era of endless options, learning to choose is a superpower. It might feel counterintuitive, but sometimes freedom feels best when we put up a few guardrails for ourselves. By deciding what truly matters to you, clarity, and not obsessing over having the absolute best of everything, perfection, you can make choices with more confidence and less stress. The paradox of choice teaches us that more is not always more. In fact, when it comes to our happiness and sanity, less can be more. Fewer but well-considered options, chosen with clear purpose, will beat a pile of endless choices that leave you anxious. So the next time you're stuck in an aisle of 200 cereal boxes, or drowning in a sea of dating profiles, or just hesitating on what movie to watch, pause and take a deep breath. Remind yourself, you don't need the perfect choice. You just need a good choice. Pick one joyfully, commit to it, and let yourself enjoy the decision. In doing so, you reclaim your time, your peace of mind, and actually get to experience life rather than constantly standing at the crossroads. After all, the ultimate freedom isn't about having endless choices. It's about being content with the choices you make. When you trade the obsession with perfection for a bit of clarity and commitment, an amazing thing happens. That dizzy, anxious feeling starts to fade, and in its place comes a sense of calm satisfaction. You realize that you're not missing out on some mythical best option. You're living fully in the option you've chosen. And that, dear viewer, is a choice you won't regret. Now, go forth and choose with confidence, and maybe save yourself some time tonight by watching the first thing that catches your eye on Netflix. Less stress, more enjoyment. In the end, learning how to choose may be the most important choice of all.